In a small Eastern European town, narrow streets lined with aging buildings, the town, frozen in time, bore the marks of bygone era, with cobblestone pathways and time-worn structures standing as a silent witness to the passage of time. On the outskirts, a dilapidated church stood, its old stones withered by the nature. The building, with its faded facade, cast a dark shadow over the town. The old clock tower, frozen in time, loomed in the distance. The urban legend about the church was simple yet spine-chilling. Locals spoke of a hellhound, a mythical creature with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp teeth. It said to guard the church ground. Stories passed down from generation to generation warned of the creature's vengeance, waiting to strike down anyone who dared to step inside the decaying church. As sun dipped below the horizon, the town's atmosphere shifts, and mere mention of the old church sent shivers down the spine. In a dimly lit local bar, John and Pete occupied a quiet corner table, shrouded in the soft glow of lone overhead bulb. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and stale smoke. John and Pete were friends for a long time. They worked hard at the local farm factory, and their rough hands showed they've spent a lot of time working in the fields. "Are you ready for tonight, John?" Pete inquired, lifting his beer to his lips, condensation sliding down the chilled glass. John, his eyes darting nervously, hesitated before responding. Are you sure about it?" Pete leaned in, his voice a hushed whisper to ensure their conversation remained private. "Yeah, John, I'm sure. An old man told me there's gold hidden in the church. I'm tired of working on the farm every day. This is our chance to become rich." A deep line formed on John's forehead as he voiced his concern. "But what if the hellhound comes?" Pete scoffed, dismissing the worry with confident reply. "It's all rumors, my friend. Legends to keep the people away from going in there. Trust me." Their conversation hung in the air like clandestine pact, sealed with the clink of beer glasses. Pete drained his glass and rose from the table. "I got to go now. The whole town will be deserted in an hour. I will be waiting for you near the gate of the church," Pete declared, casting a final glance at John before striding out of the bar, leaving behind a lingering tension. As the hour passed away, John quietly made his way to the edge of the town, making sure he stayed out of sight. When he reached the eerie-looking gate of the old church, he spotted Pete at the corner, hiding behind some skinny trees and taking casual puff from his cigarette. Their eyes met, and Pete grinned. Tossing the cigarette aside, he said, "Hey John, let's sneak in." Anxiety etched across John's face. He hesitated as Pete pushed aside the creaking, rusty old gate and entered the church. John trailed close behind. In the darkness, the church loomed, its shattered windows and cracked walls creating eerie atmosphere. They hurriedly crossed the overgrown church garden, slipping through the half-open wooden door to step into the shadowy interior. Inside, cobwebs hung in the corner, swaying slightly as they passed. The wooden benches were old and broken, some even missing. The wooden floor, withered by time, creaked under their weight. Pete pulled out a small flashlight, its dim glow creating eerie shadows. "Stick close, John," Pete said as he went down the aisle. Pews on the both sides looked as if they hadn't been touched in years. The air felt thick and quiet. The broken glass windows let in the chilly night breeze. Around the altar, they found a strange room without a door. Pete stepped in with his flashlight, revealing weird symbols on the wall. The room felt colder, and John, standing at the doorway, couldn't shake the feeling that the church itself was watching them. John's nerves tingled with a mix of fear and curiosity as Pete eagerly searched for the hidden treasure. In the eerie silence of the church, John and Pete froze as they heard the ominous creaking of the wooden floor in the main hall, as if something unseen were approaching them. The air hung heavy with fear, and both friends stood paralyzed, their eyes wide with horror. As the footsteps grew louder, a nightmarish creature emerged from behind the altar. The moonlight filtering through the broken windows revealed a massive dog-like creature with eyes that glowed sinister red and teeth so sharp they seemed to glint in the dim light. Its black fur hung in tangles, adding to the grotesque image before them. John and Pete, in that terrifying moment, recognized it. It was the Hellhound, a demonic force that entire town dreaded, and one they had now invoked. Before they could react, Hellhound lunged toward John, who stood frozen at the doorway. With swift motion, the creature sank its teeth into John's chest, causing him to cry out in pain as blood spilled onto the gold wooden floor. In a matter of minutes, the Hellhound ruthlessly mutilated John's body. Pete, recovering from the initial shock, fled in panic towards the church entrance. However, just as he neared the door, he stumbled and fell to the ground. Trembling, he turned over and saw Hellhound mere inches away, poised to tear him apart. Pete begged, "Hey Hellhound, forgive me. I made a mistake. Let me go." Hellhound retorted in demonic voice, "You invoked me for greed. You must pay the price with your blood now." Pete, overwhelmed with fear, pleaded further, "Let me go, please. I will do anything for you, but let me go." Hellhound let out a devilish laugh and fell silent. After a tense moment, it offered Pete a chilling proposition. "I will spare your life, but your soul is mine now. Every night you will transform into a Hellhound and guard this church." With that, Hellhound vanished into thin air. Pete, devastated and weeping, slowly walked out of church. The following day brought gruesome revelation. John's mutilated body was discovered at the gate of the church. News of his tragic death at the hands of Hellhound spread rapidly throughout the town, casting dark shadows over the town. Once hushed whispers about the demonic dog were now spoken aloud, and the town grieved the loss of one of its own member. Pete stood at the distance, watching in silence as police and paramedics moved John's body into the ambulance. His eyes, clouded with guilt and remorse, couldn't escape the reality of the consequences of their greed. In tearful regret, Pete whispered, "Sorry, John, I shouldn't have done this." As dusk approached, an unsettling feeling gripped Pete. His body trembled, sweat forming on his forehead, as if unseen force had taken control over him. With encroaching darkness, Pete found himself unable to resist compulsion, and he started walking. His steps carried him relentlessly until he stood once again within the walls of church. As he entered the church, an excruciating transformation overcame him. Pete cried out in pain as he transformed into dreaded Hellhound. pit, now cursed, would spend every night standing over the church as its guardian.